Hello, folks.
Hey, guys.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Mark. He's the critic.
He's the uncle.
Tonight we're going to give you a review of the new Mission Impossible movie,
Rogue Nation. So we actually took his brother, my other uncle, Paul, to go see the movie, and I know Paul really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it. I had a good time. Would you?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought it was everything you want in that kind of movie, in an action adventure movie. There was humor. The stunts were out of this world.
Stunts were definitely out of this world.
There's a chase scene which I think is going to go down with the best, like in Ronin and in Bullet.
What I was going to say about, I think, everything you. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of your summer movies. Yeah. Absolutely. One of my problems with it and why I wouldn't go super high on the rating, even for a genre, is that if I was, for about the last 45 minutes, feeling like I kind of wanted it to wrap up, and that's pretty bad. But
that is true. Yeah. It was one. This movie seemed to have many missions within this one. You know, so it took them lots of little heists, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was maybe one heist too many.
I thought it was a few. I remember reading from Dan O'Bannon. Dan O'Bannon wrote the Alien movie. He also wrote the original Total Recall. And in one of his books on screenplay writing, he talked about the difference between solid plot building, which, beginning, middle, end, and the way a lot of writers do it, especially, inexperienced writers, with just a series of events, just event, event A through Z, but they don't really tie together very well. So in other words, it's just this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, and it's not a beginning, middle, end very coherently. And I think that this movie, one of the ways that I think that is reflected is in the fact that you would feel like there's just too many missions. There's just too much that and then, as opposed to why is he doing this?
It was reminiscent. At least the feeling was reminiscent of the last Lord of the Rings, when there was constant.
See, I disagree, but
that drove me nuts. With it, that won't end. It kept going and going.
Well, and part of that was built into. It's also literature. They're taking it from a source of literature, and
but they can adapt it to the screen.
Absolutely.
But I would disagree with you in that although I might agree that you maybe you can't find a clear beginning, middle, end, first, second, and third acts. Mm-hmm. Plot-wise, there was a plot and
basic plot.
Yeah.
It's very basic plot.
Very cliche. All the normal cliches that you would get in a good popcorn film are here. The good guy, his aim is always dead on, and the bad guys can't hit anything. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a scene where Tom Cruise is running with his back to them, and all they have to do is pull it, and they miss him. But that's what we expect, and that's what we're okay with.
Yeah, and which is why it's fine to me as a good movie, as a good summer. It's actually a little bit better than Southpaw.
I would say better than Southpaw.
It is better than Southpaw. I'm going to go by 0.5, but I'll get to that. Why I wouldn't put it up in the 4s and the 5s for me is just because of that reason of it feeling like it's a few missions too long, and I still think a lot of that's the script. I think a lot of the dialogue was very forced. It's a fine line between writing a line to an audience. There's very few writers in Hollywood that can write a line that is spoken directly to audience, and it feels sort of endearing as opposed to just, oh my God, that line was obviously the throwaway line. It's just kind of.
I don't know. I think
J.J. Abrams can do it. Christopher Nolan can do it. I don't think there's many people that can.
I
didn't like a lot of the dialogue.
I thought dialogue was fine. I thought Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
I thought his lines were fine. I had no problem with the dialogue. Again, the humor.
Some of it didn't land for me, but
some of it didn't. But that's going to happen. It's not a comedy. It's not. It's not a buddy comedy. It's not a Lethal Weapon even. But it's good to have a little bit of comic relief.
Yeah.
They throw in. Do you remember the last Mission Impossible? What is it, Shadow Nation?
No, Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol.
Which actually, I have to admit, I didn't see. But
okay. Well, there's a scene in there where at the end he says, very dramatically, Tom Cruise says, mission accomplished. And he slaps something. And it doesn't end. And he's like, oh, mission accomplished. Remember? And there's a scene like that in this movie where he's trying to get into something and it doesn't work at first. So, anyway, little bits of humor. Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. Except that it did drag a bit at the end, but
for me I think it was a little better until towards the end for him. I think for me it was about 45 minutes, and the last it just was like I'm done with this movie. So I think there were moments that were redeeming towards the end that were like I was starting to fall asleep. I'll be honest with you, a little bit, like and then the knife fight towards the end. Oh my God, just
they have a really strong, and I was thinking about it as I was watching, strong female character,
right?
lead.
Which they didn't have in Mission Impossible 2, but
right. Although I think people would argue that is it Paula Patton was in the last one, and she was strong, true. But I felt like this one was, and I don't know the actress's name.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be big though.
I think so too.
She was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was something I wanted to say, that she really impressed me, and that they let her be strong and successful on her own.
Yeah. And that leads me to my next. That leads me to my next point, which is I do think. In action films, to talk about the acting, it almost becomes like, really, you're going to talk about acting in an action film? Well, you can still have good, decent acting. For example, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, he's an action hero, but he can't act worth a darn. But at least Tom Cruise has some. He understands the fundamentals of acting. And even though he's got to play action hero, he's still interesting to watch. I think there was a lot of those guys and women too in this movie that were very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I thought the villain.
Yep.
Very interesting. I'd never seen him, and
yeah, me neither.
And and they changed up some of the things in this movie. Even the intro scene, where they have the wire burning, the fuse. They changed that up a little bit, so I thought it was a little fresher.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like overall, I'm going to say 3.5. I would, 3.5.
Wow.
And it was a little bit. It was definitely better than Southpaw, but it was a little bit not as great as Ant-Man for me. Although obviously different genres somewhat, but it just didn't do it for me as much. It was a fun movie. I enjoyed myself, but I did think, okay, I've seen a little bit too much of this before, and so I would say maybe matinee personally. And take your friends because it's fun, but.
No, yeah, I'd say definitely take your wife. Go, at 7, 9 o'clock. I thought it was better than Ant-Man.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. But at a point, it's gone. It's gone. You got me all riled up with this.
That's okay. I did want to say, if I was going to rank it, minus the fact I haven't seen Ghost Protocol, I'd say number 1, number 3, this one. I don't know about Ghost Protocol yet. And then 2 is just like, I don't even want to talk about it, but...
Yeah.
How would you rank them?
Yeah, I would think 1, 4, 3, 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Anything that you've seen recently?
Well, I saw a movie on Netflix called Odd Thomas. It's a kind of a low-budget zombie kind of movie. Very, very funny. Very has a unique twist to it. A little spin. The lead is a young actor. He's a Slavic actor. I don't know if he's Russian. He was in the new Star Trek.
Okay, yeah.
I
know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the one that has that Russian accent. He was in it. Oh, and I saw something you said about writing made me think of something I just saw also on Netflix, an older movie called Maverick with Mel Gibson, James Garner, Jodie Foster. Yeah. Great movie as well.
Yeah.
You talk for a second because I had another thought of a movie coming out that I wanted to mention.
Okay.
So come back
yeah. I've been watching movies a lot of things that are about like any rate, so like Life Itself, which I didn't like as much at first about the whole life of Roger Ebert, and they also get into a little bit about film critique as an art form, whatever. Interesting movie, actually. And then another one I've been watching recently is, I think 2007, 2008, something like that. On TV they did these, and this is on Netflix, they did these things called Hollywood's Best Directors, which it's not all the great directors, but anyway, at least it's interesting to watch, and they're about half-hour a piece, so it's not that much time to... So if you like to think about great directors and all that kind of thing. So.
All right. Can't remember what it is, but I'm sure when it comes out I'll watch it and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely.
So,
give us your comments.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see you next time.